was hiding under a desk when I noticed feet that didn't match anyone in my classroom. What unsettled me most was how quietly they stood there. I was a sophomore when this happened, and until that day, lockdowns were just procedures. We practiced them twice a year, always announced ahead of time, always calm. Teachers treated them like drills. Students treated them like a break from class. This one felt different immediately. It was fourth period math when the intercom activated without the usual tone. Static filled the room, followed by the principal's voice. He sounded tense, like he was reading something for the first time. Teachers, initiate lockdown immediately. This is not a drill. There was no explanation. Our teacher reacted quickly. He locked the door, turned off the lights, and pulled the blinds down. He told us to stay low, stay quiet, and not move unless instructed. Desks shifted as everyone tried to find a place to hide. I slid under a desk near the wall and pulled my backpack close. From where I was, I could only see the floor and the metal legs of desks lined up across the room. The classroom became completely silent. At first, it was just uncomfortable. My breathing sounded loud in my ears. The ticking clock on the wall felt amplified. Somewhere nearby, someone was quietly sniffling, trying to hold it in. Time passed slowly. Then we heard footsteps in the hallway. They weren't rushed. They weren't loud, just steady, measured steps moving past classroom doors. The sound echoed softly through the hall, growing slightly louder as they came closer. The footsteps paused near our room. I stared at the narrow strip of light beneath the door, waiting to see movement. Nothing happened. No knock! No attempt to enter. After a moment, the footsteps continued. I relaxed slightly, but the feeling didn't last. The air in the room felt colder, or maybe it was just my nerves. The floor beneath my arm felt icy. I shifted without thinking and accidentally brushed against another student hiding under a nearby desk. We bought frusse, afraid of making any sound. The footsteps returned. This time, they stopped much closer. I noticed something move into view near the front of the classroom. A pair of feet. Empty werebear. No shoes. Dot. No socks. Just pale feet standing still against the tile floor. I remember thinking how out of place they looked. How unusual it was compared to everything else in the school. The toes shifted slightly, like the person was adjusting their stance. Then another pair of feet appeared beside them. Sneakers. This time, clean and familiar. An adult, most likely. The two stood there for a long moment. The sneakers stepped back slightly. The bare feet adjusted again, turning slowly. The sneakers then moved away down the hallway, their footsteps fading quickly. The bare feet remained. They didn't rush. They didn't move suddenly. They simply stood there, then slowly turned in the direction of the desks. I held my breath. The feet moved a little closer, stopping near the desk I was under. I could see small details. Now the faint dust on the skin, the way the toes rested against the floor. There was a quiet sound above me, like slow breathing or someone standing very still. Then, just as calmly, the feet turned away and walked back into the hallway. The lockdown ended later than usual. Teachers eventually received the all clear, and we were escorted outside. Police were present, and parents were waiting beyond the school gates, confused and asking questions. No clear explanation was given. Administrators said it had been a precaution. Security said there was no ongoing issue. By the next week, the school had returned to normal, but I couldn't forget it. A few days later, I overheard a security guard talking quietly with a teacher. He mentioned footprints found in the hallway during the lockdown. Only 1 Septiembre. There. They stopped in front of our classroom door. When I asked if they knew who it belonged to, the conversation ended immediately. To this day, I still think about how quiet those feet were and how they didn't seem lost. The lockdown alarm was never supposed to activate after midnight. At 2:17 a.m., it did, and something inside the school started moving. I wasn't supposed to be alone in the building that night. I was 17, working part-time as a summer janitorial assistant at my high school. It was easy money. Empty hallways. Music in one EARBUD hours that barely felt real. Normally, there were 2 of us on the late shift, but my supervisor had gone home sick just after midnight. By 2 a.m., the school felt different. Not scary at first, just hollow. The air conditioning cycled on and off, sending cold drafts down the hallways. Motion lights flickered awake when I passed, then shut off behind me, plunging entire wings back into darkness. I was mopping near the science wing when every speaker in the building exploded at once. A piercing mechanical alarm blared overhead, sharp enough to make me drop the mop. Red lights began flashing along the ceilings. Doors slammed shut down the hallway in a chain reaction, heavy metal thuds echoing one after another. The lockdown alarm. I froze. I had been trained on drills, daytime scenarios, active threats, students barricading classrooms. But no one had ever mentioned what happened if it triggered after hours. Then the automated voice came on. Attention. Lockdown protocol has been initiated. Remain where you are. I checked my phone las 2:17 AM. My first thought was a malfunction, an old system, a glitch. Then I heard something else. Footsteps. They echoed from the far end of the hallway, slow and uneven. Not running, not panicked, just walking. I grabbed my radio and tried calling security.static. I tried again. Nothing. The science wing doors were already locked. I tested one.solid. The handle would not budge. I was sealed inside. The footsteps stopped. I stood there with the mop handle clenched in my hands, listening so hard my ears hurt. The building felt like it was breathing around me, the low hum of electricity, the faint whine of vents. Then the footsteps started again. Closer, this time. I backed into a classroom, slipping inside just before the magnetic locks engaged with a loud click. The door sealed shut behind me. I turned off my flashlight and crouched under the teacher's desk, my heart pounding so violently I thought I might pass out. The alarm stopped. The sudden silence was worse. No voice, no instructions, just the red emergency lights still pulsing slowly, bathing the room in a dull warning glow. That is when I heard it. A soft dragging sound in the hallway, like fabric brushing against tile. It moved past the classroom, paused, then dragged back the other way. I covered my mouth and barely breathed. A shadow passed beneath the door. Not feet, just a long, warped shape, stretching and shrinking as it moved under the flickering lights. The intercom crackled. For a split second, he felt relief. Someone was finally responding, but the voice that came through was not automated. It sounded wrong, too close to the microphone. Breathing on Eben, remain where you are. It repeated my exact words from earlier. My voice. My stomach twisted. The dragging stopped outside my door. I watched the handle slowly turn, jerking slightly, like whoever was there did not know how much pressure to use. The lock held, but the handle kept moving, testing it, rattling softly. Then came the tapping. Not knocking, tapping. Like fingertips, tracing along the door window, slow, curious. I squeezed my eyes shut. Every muscle screamed at me to run, even though I had nowhere to go. After a while, seconds or minutes, I still do not know, the tapping stopped. Footsteps retreated down the hall. The red lights shut off, and just like that, the building returned to normal. The doors unlocked. The air conditioning kicked back on. The intercom went silent. I did not move for a long time. When I finally worked up the courage to leave the classroom, the hallway was empty. No signs of forced entry. No mess. No explanation. Security answered my radio 15 minutes later. They claimed there had been no alert on their end. No record of a lockdown. No unusual activity. I quit the job the next day. A month later, school started again. During an assembly, the principal casually mentioned that the lockdown system had undergone overnight testing over the summer. Afterward, I raised my hand and asked why no one had been notified. He stared at me like I had said something inappropriate. There are no tests scheduled at 2:17 a.m., he said flatly. That night still wakes me up sometimes, because every so often, when I cannot sleep, I check the old security app I forgot to uninstall from my phone. And on one date, with no footage and no explanation, it still shows a single event log. Lockdown initiated. 2:17 a.m. Source: Manual Override.